Hey there. Joke writing is the most important tool for a stand-up comedian. And the more we dedicate ourselves to this art form, the more we leave our audiences hooked, engaged, and wanting more. But there's a lot of information out there, and it starts to get very complicated very quickly. But it doesn't need to be, because joke writing is a surprisingly easy art form. If you give me to the end of this video, I am going to show you that it's not rocket science, that the inspiration is easily accessible, and the creativity you already have within you. The world is a funny place. Every comedian will tell you that inspiration is everywhere and that everything can be funny. Therefore, we don't need to look into books on how jokes are formed. Instead, we go and trust with our own thought process as we live our lives day to day. We start to pay attention to the things that are happening around us. No matter how mundane they might feel to us, they can be made fun of. To be a truly great comedian, it's not just discipline, it's obsession. We need to be obsessed about capturing the moment and the thought when it occurs to us. Jot it down as quickly as we can. Then go back to the lab, which is our own private space we can create and morph ideas together. And the more we do this, the more memory bank we will have for old material. You won't need to create from scratch, because if you just jot down the ideas you had throughout the day, then the jokes and the punchlines will be waving up at you, and you will start to take some ideas you had a few weeks back and be able to connect them with something that happened right now. And this is always progressing your own unique voice in stand-up comedy. When it comes to writing a joke, don't just start the joke. Instead, paint a picture of where and when it happened. Instead of saying, I was in a taxi and I was talking to the driver, say, I was in New York City and it was 3 a.m. and I was in a taxi. Or, I was 3 a.m. and I'm standing in a tiny kebab shop. This paints a very vivid picture in the mind of the listener, of the audience. And if you can paint the picture and set up the premise correctly with the location, then the audience put themselves into the picture, and they will now live the emotions of the joke through the next piece of information you say. Instead of using a general term about a situation, use raw emotion. Try and be honest about how you would feel in a particular scenario. The more embarrassing and raunchy your emotions in that are, the more connected an audience are to the story. If you say, I was feeling generally sad, nobody is going to get on board with that sentence. It's not the way you would speak. If you said, I was absolutely ashamed and embarrassed, that's something people can get behind. That's honesty. I wonder what situation made you feel like this, and then you can exaggerate into it, lean into the discomfort of the situation. That's the kind of honesty in storytelling and in joke writing that really hooks an audience. Paying attention for words. That's all you need to do. If you think of a sentence, think what words are funny in that sentence. Earlier on, I gave you an example of being in the kebab shop at 3 a.m. Being in a tiny kebab shop at 3 a.m. What's the funny words in that sentence? What can we exaggerate? What can we talk more about? How can we paint a more vivid picture out of the words in that very short sentence? Being in a tiny kebab shop at 3 a.m. Tiny is a funny word if we want to morph it into a funny word. We can exaggerate just how small it was. We can exaggerate our discomfort to being in this situation. Kebab shop says something. Is the only time you go into a kebab shop when you've had too much to drink. Just how much did you have to drink? Was it 15 pints? How were you walking? How were you feeling? Were you able to communicate what you wanted across the counter? And did you finally get the order you placed? At 3 a.m., what were the scenarios like at 3 a.m. to lead you to a kebab shop? What is the surroundings like? What are the people like at 3 a.m. as opposed to 3 p.m.? All of these are avenues in which we can create great material from. And it's all based on one sentence. So when you're out and about, if you're reading an article, if you're following up on something, look at any sentence and ask yourself, are there words that I'm skimming across on this piece of paper that could be my next 5-minute set? And how then can I take it and incorporate it into my own stories? The moment. After we set the audience up with the premise and the location, and they understand where they are in the story, we need to say something to describe and put them in the moment. It could be a smell. It could be the anger you had towards something. It could be a moment of realization over something. We need to really paint a further picture that is the sole aim to put the audience in the moment with us before we hit the punchline, before we say the humorous thing. And humorous things in our stories will get consistently stronger as we watch out for more inspiration. And then when we are on stage, we make sure that the audience are in on the moment with us. We pay attention to the perception of our material, and then we repeat the process. And each time we do this, it gets a little bit stronger. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you're so eager to go and create some fantastic comedy. And I will see you on the next episode. Cheers.